I've got some meat, I've got some tortillas, and I've got a great sauce. So we're going to be making some grilled burritos today. Yeah, if you've never grilled a burrito, you're kind of missing something. There's a great flavor you get on the outside, getting a little bit of that grill char on it, but there is stuff we need to do inside first. And the main thing is we've got to get our sauce ready because it's actually going to go in the refrigerator overnight to sort of come together because we're going to be putting the burritos together tomorrow. So what I'm starting with here are 8 ounces of Hatch chili peppers. They're dried and we need to remove the stems, the seeds, clean them out a bit, and then sort of reconstitute them, rehydrate them with some boiling water. I would really recommend gloves for this part of the procedure. Now these are more of the mild Hatch chili peppers. These are on the red side. The green side really gets a lot hotter. And for many people who pointed out that I spelled this C-H-I-L-E, not C-H-I-L-I, if you look on the packaging, it'll say Hatch chili peppers. Same thing, it's interchangeable. So first thing I want to do is cut the stem off. And you really want to do this on a tray because there can be seeds flying everywhere. In fact, I know some are going to escape the tray. And then I just want to take a scissors, cut up the center here, and break it open like this. Just sort of get the seeds out. Now, if a few seeds slip through, it's not going to hurt anything. So see, I'm not going to go all crazy and try and get every last seed. I just want to get the majority of them out of here. Every time I get one done, I'm going to put it in a bowl. Move on to the next one. You can see just those seeds spilling out of there. I'm going to go ahead and finish these up, but first I actually want to mention something. A viewer sent me something very cool. You noticed my NASA hats and messaged me and asked, hey, did you work for NASA? I said, no, I'm just a space nut. I've worked on some projects in the past through my writing where I had to spend some time at NASA at Kennedy Space Center in Florida. And it turns out that he works for NASA and he said, hey, I want to send you something. I said, all right. So he sent me some really cool NASA artwork, some posters, patches, things like that. Just really fantastic. So Backyard Grill Sergeant, thank you so much. If you guys haven't checked out his channel yet, it's a newer channel, go check him out. And I'm actually going to put a link to a video that he has of this smoker that he bought. And I think he's refurbishing it. It's sort of a fuel tank smoker. It's a trailered smoker, I believe. And this thing is a beast. So I'm going to put a link down below and up here for you to check that out because it's kind of cool to look at that. So again, Backyard Grill Sergeant, thank you very much for the posters and everything. My wife, who's a teacher, is going to put some of those up in her classroom. So really cool, thank you much. Now I'm going to go ahead and finish up getting these peppers prepped and then we'll move on to the next step. So here is our bowl of dried Hatch chili peppers that have had most of the seeds and the little innards kind of pulled out, the stems taken off. What we're going to do now is we're going to pour some really hot water in here. It's just finished boiling, so we want to get that in here to help this sort of reconstitute, rehydrate, and get the flavors going. Just going to pour enough to kind of cover them. Sort of press them down in there. And you can feel them starting to soften almost immediately in there. All right, we're going to set these aside. They're going to continue to rehydrate for probably about 30 minutes. And while that's happening, we're going to go ahead and start making the other components of our burrito sauce. All right, so I have a high-sided skillet on my induction burner here, and we're going to go ahead and we're going to start heating up a couple tablespoons of olive oil. I'm going to toss one tiny piece of onion in here just to tell us when it starts getting hot enough to add everything. Just starting to get the bubbling around there. That's looking good. We're going to go ahead and add one medium onion that's been chopped up and one medium red onion that's been chopped up. Stir these around a bit. We're going to add 2 tablespoons of minced garlic. That's maybe 2 or 3 cloves of garlic that have been minced. 1 teaspoon of kosher salt. Just want these to soften and sweat down a bit. We're gonna add 2 teaspoons of some very roughly cracked black pepper. Those are almost whole peppercorns, they're just lightly cracked. We're gonna take a half cup of the liquid from the peppers that have been steeping there and put that in here. I've got my induction burner set at power level 5, right in the middle. So we're just gonna let this continue to cook down for another 4 or 5 minutes before we move on. All right, our onions are softening up nicely. The other seasonings in here are blending in well. And now I'm gonna add the reconstituted chili peppers here. I've removed them from the liquid and reserved the liquid because we're gonna need some of that later. This is sort of like an enchilada sauce if you were making it. I do this a little bit different for burritos. And if you can't get hatch chili peppers, you could use, poblanos, things like that. Any sort of dried pepper works well. Just match it to the heat level that you want. These hatch chili peppers, which have sort of reached that red stage of their development, they're milder than the greens. All right, we're gonna let this go for probably 5 or 10 minutes, continue to sort of cook in there, get all the flavors released from the chili peppers, and then we're gonna move on to getting this in the food processor. All right, our pepper and onion mixture is cooled down, and I'm just gonna add it now to the container of my Ninja processor. This is the larger container. They have a smaller one, but I think we're gonna pretty much fill this mostly up. So we're just gonna start adding everything to this. Now you can do this in a blender if you want. In fact, if this isn't blended enough after using the processor, I'll transfer it to a regular blender and pulse it a few times to smooth it out. And let's get our lid on. Let's make some sauce. Need to, just push stuff down. With peppers that are this big, it can take a little while to break them down. You can always chop them up first if you want, but I don't mind doing it this way. Okay, now we're gonna add a cup of that reserved liquid that rehydrated our chili peppers. Get any of those onions and things from the side that have stuck and push those down. And we're gonna add another cup of that liquid. Now this is not an exact amount you'd add in a recipe. You add it until it gets to the consistency you want, the thickness of the sauce. All right, let's check this again. Good, still a little too thick. I'm gonna add another cup. So we're up to about 3 cups here. Maybe about 2.5 cups. These weren't completely full. But again, you're doing it until it's the consistency you want. Probably about 3/4 of a cup here. Why am I adding a little bit at a time? Because you can always add more. It's really hard to take it out if you've added too much. So we're getting there, getting close. Add another 3/4 of a cup here. You notice I'm lowering the amount here as I add it. I don't want to add a full cup since we're getting close to what I think is going to be the consistency I want. Half a cup more. I think we are there. All right, I'm gonna set this aside and we are gonna get our pan back out. I didn't mention it before, but that pan that we use to cook up the peppers and the onions and everything, just set it aside when you're done with it. You don't even have to clean it out because we're gonna heat this back up now before we strain it. I'm just gonna add about a tablespoon of oil here, maybe a little more, and we're going to add our mixture here. What you wanna do is you wanna take about a half a cup of that reserved liquid, put it in your blender container, whatever it is you were using, food processor like I was, kind of mix it up to get some of those things that are stuck at the bottom, and then pour that half cup in here. And we're just gonna mix this together, get that olive oil mixed in. In a minute or so here, we're gonna taste this and see if we need to adjust for salt, pepper. And if it's too hot, at this point, we can sort of mellow it out with some honey or some agave syrup. So we're just gonna let this come up to a really low simmer. A little bit of a simmer going here. We wanna stir this. Oh, the smell of this is amazing. All right, let's go ahead and get a little taste here. Well, that's nice. I can tell though it needs salt, and I also want to add some honey to it. There is a little bit of heat there, but I also want to bring out some sweetness. So I'm going to add, I don't know, maybe half a teaspoon of salt here. Mix it up. I'm going to add maybe a tablespoon or two of honey here. Let's go ahead and mix that in. Give this a taste with a fresh spoon. That's nice. Needs more salt. I'm going to go with another half teaspoon of salt here. Mix that in. Nice little heat in this. All right, another fresh spoon. I'm going through spoons here. That's it. All right, I'm going to let this warm through. And at this point, this is where I would normally run it through a strainer. I got to tell you, I'm liking the consistency. I'm liking the heat. If you want a smoother consistency sauce here, go ahead and run it through a strainer at this point. But I'm calling an audible. I'm just going to leave this as it is. So as soon as this is done cooking here for a few minutes, I'm going to let it cool down, put it in a container in the refrigerator overnight. And tomorrow it's going to be ready for our grilled burritos. Our red sauce from those Hatch chili peppers has been in the refrigerator overnight. All those flavors have come together. Now it's time to make our grilled burrito. And we're gonna start with some flap meat. So we need to get this grilled up, but first I wanna season it. And I've found that most times the simplest seasoning you can use on this is the best. So we're just gonna go salt, pepper, and garlic powder. And today I'm using a pre-made one from Smiling Swine Barbecue. It's gonna give a good coating of both sides of this flap meat. You can use any number of cuts of beef for this. I've seen people use tri-tip, ribeye, flank steak, skirt steak. Skirt steak, flank steak, flap meat are usually the traditional cuts you're going to use for something like this. If you want, you could also, add a little lime juice on this. That's always nice. I do that sometimes. And I didn't trim this up at all. You can see this came straight from the butcher. They've done the trimming. There's a little bit of fat, a little bit of silver skin, but honestly, it does not matter when you're cooking these like this. All right, this is ready. Let's get it out to the grill. We are using the gas grill today. Let's get our flap meat on here. Flap meat is one of those things you really don't want to overcook. We'll end up turning it a couple times here. All right, I'm gonna finish these up, get them inside, build our burrito, and then we'll get that back here on the grill. Okay, our flap meat is all grilled up. I've got one piece here because I'm just gonna be making one burrito at this time. The rest will be made into other burritos later. We're gonna go ahead and slice this up. Let's just take a quick little taste here and see. Salt, pepper, and garlic powder. Now some of these longer pieces I'm going to go ahead and cut in half. You could even chop this up if you want. All right, there we go. I'm going to set this aside, wipe my board down, then we're going to build this burrito and get it out to the grill. All right, so I have one large tortilla here. We're actually going to be using 2 tortillas in this. We're going to sort of double wrap it. First thing I want to do is get a little bit of our red sauce on this sort of outer tortilla. I'm just going to spread it around a bit. Not a lot. Doesn't have to go edge to edge. Now I'm going to add some refried black beans. I just warmed these up. Didn't make these from scratch, they're from a can. Nothing wrong with canned refried beans. Let's get our flap meat in here. For my cheese today, I'm using a Hatch chili cheddar cheese. I found this at the store, looked really interesting. Decided it would go perfect with this since we have Hatch chili sauce. And I just sort of shaved these. I didn't shred it. I've said several times in videos that I don't like a lot of cheese and things, but I do want some sometimes. Put a little bit of our red sauce in here now. And now we're gonna fold. Gonna be a very well-stuffed burrito here. Because now we're gonna get our red sauce on the outside. Just wanna brush this all over. Get a nice coating. Let's turn this over. A little more sauce on this side. Brush it all around. Have you noticed that I'm not an expert burrito wrapper? I'm not. If this thing does not explode as I cook it, it'll be a miracle. All right, it's looking messy right now, and that means it's ready for the grill. All right, we're gonna get our burrito on and start grilling it with the seam side down. Let's see how we're doing here. Starting to get a good char there. All right, let's go ahead and give our burrito a turn here. Oh yeah. Might be a little hard to see in the sun here, but getting a nice char on that. We'll end up turning it again to get all the sides nice and crispy. See how this side's doing here? Oh, looking good. Gonna give it another little turn here. And a little rotation. All right, this is looking good. I'm gonna get it off here, get it inside. We're gonna cut into it. We're gonna have a taste. Here is the finished grilled burrito. Now we're gonna put a couple things on top to sort of finish it off, but let's cut into it first. Oh yeah, look at that. Oh, that is looking good. Now I wanna sprinkle a little cotija cheese on top here. I love the look of this. It's like snow when you shave it. A few scallions. And I want to hit the outside of this with some Cholula green pepper sauce. This is looking good. There we go. Our grilled carne asada burrito with homemade red sauce from Hatch Chili Peppers. This is looking great. It is time to taste. All right, I am ready to taste this grilled burrito, but I want to mention something that I forgot to mention earlier when we were making the red sauce. If you have that reserved liquid that the peppers have rehydrated in, before you add that back into it to thin it out, taste it. If it tastes bitter, you can just substitute water to thin out the sauce that we're making. So always give that leftover liquid just a little taste first, and again, if it's bitter, you don't have to use it, just use water. But if it tastes good, has some good flavor in it, that's what you want to use. All right, here we go. I'm just picking it up and eating it. This is really smelling good, so let's see how we did. One thing I really love about grilled burritos is just that little bit of a crunch you get on the tortilla. It's similar to what you would get if you had deep fried the burrito or had a chimichanga or something like that. That little bit of extra texture and that char adds to the flavor. So if you haven't done a grilled burrito, I'd recommend you give it a try. That red sauce in here is just terrific. Matches well with that Hatch pepper jack cheese, simple carne asada with the flap meat. Everything just works really well together here. And that red sauce, that can be used on enchiladas, on tacos, burritos just like this, anything. And when you give it a chance to be grilled, brushed on the outside of a burrito, it brings out even more flavor. So next time, if you're hungry for a burrito and you're gonna make it, try making it on the grill. Give it that great char outside. And if you want to put a little extra effort in, try making your own sauce to go with it. That takes the burrito to the next level. It's better than just about any burrito you're gonna go buy in a restaurant. That is one really good burrito.